Okay, in this example, we are going to look at coding up an implementation of the linked list. So first of all, I'm going to do this via object-oriented an approach. So I'm going to create a class which will hold a node within an object-oriented list itself. Now, in Python, I can set up a class header as follows. Let's just make this font a little bit larger, shall we? There we go. I have to set up my constructor method. And I'm going to pass a variable whenever I'm setting up a new node, and that's going to be the node's content. Now I'm going to store those in attributes. So self.content is going to be equal to content. Now every node in a linked list, as we already know, well, I'm going to go for a doubly linked list. Every node points to the one next, and because this is a doubly linked list implementation, I'm going to have it point to the previous one as well. So the next attribute is going to start off pointing to just an empty string. The previous attribute is going to start off also pointing to an empty string. So that is my constructor method. I'm also going to create a little display method as well to print out the contents of the node. So display, and I'm just going to do a print. Node contents is equal to whatever the node contents currently is, self.content. There we go. So now I've got my class set up. I'm going to add some nodes to my linked list. First of all, I'm going to instantiate my first node, set it up. I'm going to do a little bit of comments just to help if I look at this again in the future. I'm going to initialize the list. The current item on the list is going to be equal to node. I'm just going to set it up to be empty to begin with. The pointers on the list, I'm going to need a start pointer to say where the list starts from. So the start is going to be the current node because it's empty. I've just got nothing in it at the moment. And I'll keep track of where the end of the list is as well with an end pointer, which is also going to be the current node because I haven't got anything else in there. So currently I have an empty list. I've got one node in it which is empty. So the start pointer points to it, the end pointer points to it as well, and the current pointer, if you like, also says that it's empty. Everything's pointing to the same spot at this moment in time. So I'm going to load some values into the list. Right, this is where it gets a little bit trickier. So I'm going to say I'm going to load up 7 values. I'm just going to use a simple for loop. So whatever I put into this for loop, it'll just print 7 times. So if I can check that just by doing print I. If I run this as it is, you can see it's done that 7 times. 0 to 6 is 7 different values. Okay, so I'm just going to, each time I iterate through this loop, I'm going to collect a value for the list. And I'm going to insert it into the linked list. So I'm going to get a value first of all. I'm going to call it val, highly original. I'm going to input that from the user. Please enter another value for the linked list. There we go. Now, if the current node's value, because I'm starting off, I've instantiated a node, initialized a node, but it's empty. So as I run through this loop, if the current node's content, current.content, if the current node's content is empty, then I want to put the val into that. So current.content is going to be equal to val. So if it's empty, then put the value that I just typed in through the input into it. However, if it's not empty, it's because I'm going to be doing this loop 7 times. If it's not empty, then I need to do something else. So if it's not empty, I need to do create a new node. The current nodes next pointer, which I've set up to be just an empty string at the moment, is going to be equal to a new node. And that new node is going to have the value, you guess it, val. So I have a current node. Its next pointer is now pointing to a brand new node. That brand new node will have its own next pointer and previous pointer and so on. So I want the new node to point to the current node. So I'm going to do that by current dot next, which now points to the new node. So its previous node is going to be equal to current. There we go. And the current node now needs to point. The current node now needs to become the next node. Let me say that again. The next node needs to become the current node. So current equals current, apologies for the typing, dot next. Okay, so this new node that's come on replaces whatever the current node is. I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping at this point. The end node is now also the current node. Now that's the same line as here, but at this point that current node is the start node, the root node to give it its proper name. Here, current has been updated. It's now the second node in, or whatever iteration is going on here. So the end node is now whatever the latest node is that I put on. So that little loop on its own, if I print it, if I run that, I'm starting to get asked for values for the linked list, which is great. So I'm going to put on some values. There we go. Nothing's happened at this point, but it's iterated through those values. It's updated the nodes. It's updated that those objects, created additional objects. I have actually created a little doubly linked list, but I want to output it. I want to iterate through each list item, each node now. So I only print my list. Print the list. Okay, so I'm going to go from the start all the way through. Right, okay, so the current node is now equal once again to the start node. So I'm just going right back to the start. Remember that every node points to the next and points to the previous. So just because I'm saying that the current node is the start node, I haven't lost anything. I'm just going back to the beginning of this list. So I'm going to iterate through this linked list. I don't know at the start how many items there are on the list. I mean, I do up here, but I'm going to pretend that I don't know. So I'm going to use a while loop instead, condition controlled loop. So while the length of the current content is greater than 0, because remember I set this up as being empty to begin with. So while the length of the current content is greater than 0, I want to print out whatever the current content is. Current.display. That is the little method that I set up here. Saves me having to do a whole print statement thing. Just current.display. Now, this would be an infinite loop currently. I don't like that. I don't want that to happen. So I need to keep updating. After I print the current one, I need to set it to the next one along. So current equals current dot next. There we go. And now if I run this, I anticipate an error, but let's just see what happens. COMPSCI. Yes. So good progress. Node contents. So it's iterating through. It's going through the pointers and printing out the content of each one. But then it's getting an issue. Attribute string object has no dot content. So I am trying to access the content of something, presuming it's a node, and it's not a node. Because as I keep going through, at some point I'm pointing to the next element. Well, if there's nothing there, it's just a string. And there's no such thing as a string dot content. That's something that's specific to my node, to my node class. So let's see. A workaround for this is going to be if as instance. There we go. So if the current.next is in fact a node, if it's a node, then I'll do this. So if the next thing is a node, then I'll move on and address it as such. Otherwise, I must have reached the end of my linked list. I'll break out of the loop. Let's see what happens. Comp sci. Excellent. So I've iterated through my list contents. Here, each node linking to the next node, linking to the next, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. And this is a very simple bit of code showing an object-oriented approach to creating a linked list structure. I've created a node. Each node has got attributes. I've got my constructor method and my display method. Those terms are important. I'm initializing my list, loading some values into the list, and I am, from the start of the list, printing each element in turn.